Hi, I'm Carrie Hoover at the Dallas International Film Festival, and I'm here with Tim McCandless, did I say that right?
Yes.
And Clint Howard, the director and star of Alabama Moon. So welcome to the festival.
Well, thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah, it is. It really is wonderful to be in Dallas and be here supporting, the Dallas Film Festival and the movie. I'm proud of the movie.
So are you enjoying the festival so far? Are you having fun?
Well, actually, I just got in yesterday on a pretty harried schedule, so I think today, to be honest, today is going to be the first chance I'm going to have to enjoy the festival and maybe catch another film or two, as well as seeing Alabama Moon.
Sure.
So anyway.
Well, I got in yesterday, and I always have a great time here. This is my fifth time, I believe, here at the Michael Caine Film Festival. So, I came several times back when it was the Deep Ellum Film Festival, so I've been coming here quite a bit.
Right. You said you're really active in this, and actually Alabama Moon was one of the first 10 official selections. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. It's great. So very early on, James Faust, whom I know really well, has said, we'd love to get it up here. So pretty early on, James and I were scheming to get Alabama Moon here at the festival.
Mm-hmm. And why was it so important to have it here at the Dallas Festival in particular?
Well, again, I just love everybody up here, and I just love to come to this festival every year. So it's a good excuse to come up here to Dallas. I actually went to SMU, so I used to live here in Dallas. But also, it's a really fine family film that I thought people up here in Dallas would really enjoy. So a lot of people with kids are coming to the screenings, which is going to be a lot of fun.
A film like Alabama Moon in the studio world is getting trickier and trickier to sell. Because it's not animated, it's not in 3D, it's an old-fashioned film. Tim made we made an old-fashioned kind of family child's adventure. And the studios tend to shake their heads at those. So one advantage to taking the film, like Alabama Moon, to festivals such as Dallas, is that it gives an opportunity for audiences to see it and to react to it, reviewers to see it and react to not only the movie itself, but audiences' reaction. And hopefully, a little word of mouth can get built up about a movie like this to where the studios cannot deny that, they're going to have to work hard, but they really need to release this movie.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting for studios these days. It's all about selling a movie, obviously, and how much do we have to spend to sell it. And a big movie sort of sells itself. You know what I mean? There's a lot of press for it, and it's a subject matter or whatever sounds interesting to people. But when a movie is just about people, it hasn't got that hook or whatever, that marketing hook or angle studios are looking for. The studios are a little, well, how do we sell it? And my response as a filmmaker is, well, it's really good, and people want to see it. And they go, yeah, but that's hard. We don't know how to sell good. So, that's a great thing about a festival like this is we can get out there and people get out and see the movie and they can tell each other. I've a couple other movies I've done. I wrote the film The Iron Giant, the animated film, and I mean the studio didn't know how to sell that. That movie came out and nobody saw it, and it wasn't until a few years later where people started seeing it on cable and DVD that suddenly people realized, oh, it's really good.
Right.
So that's always the dilemma, is trying to get the audience to become aware of a movie and to know that it's good and something they want to see. So
yeah, and festivals are great for that.
yeah.
So can you give us kind of a quick synopsis of the film for the people that are going to see it?
Well, here,
Sure.
throw it to Tim. He's the storyteller.
I'm the director guy, I guess, so that's up to me. It's the main character is this it's played by Jimmy Bennett, who's this wonderful young actor who's 11, and his credit list on IMDb is just enormous. I mean, he's in a lot of things. In fact, he played the young Captain Kirk in the Star Trek film that came out not too long ago. But he plays this kid named Moon Blake, who's lived with his father in the woods. His father's sort of an anti-government survivalist type, and so this is the only world he knows, is kind of hunting and trapping, and sort of a real boy's dream in life. But then his father dies. He has an accident and dies, and so it's like, what happens with Moon, with this character? And he runs afoul of our Constable Sanders here, who is determined that this kid's not going to be out there on the loose, and he puts him in a sort of a prison school. So Moon makes some friends there, but within a couple days he escapes and takes 30 kids with him back into the woods. And so it's a real sort of Huck Finn adventure. It's also got John Goodman in it, who plays the lawyer who owns this land, this huge tract of land that Moon is now hiding out on, and he ends up befriending the boy. So there's a lot of heart, a lot of comedy, and a few serious things. So it's really I hate to say old-fashioned, but they used to make movies like this. They Old Yeller and some of these great classics, and it's sort of in that vein. So
there's also an interesting angle to the film, to the story. It's a novel by a fellow named Watt Key. That Moon, because of his relationship with his father and the circumstances of living with his father almost cloistered out in the woods, Moon knows no other children. He knows nothing else but surviving. And his journey sort of inside his mind from thinking that the world is out to get him to, hey, the world ain't so bad, is sort of a nice, interesting little journey that gives the film, yes, on some levels it's just sort of a regular kind of young people's adventure story. Sure. But I was very intrigued and impressed by that hook, and I was asked to play Constable Sanders. Listen, hopefully there was a little more nuance than this, but it's fun to say now, sort of like the Barney Fife on steroids.
Okay.
And I get a wild hair to sort of go after this boy, and I take it personal that he escapes from me, and I spend quite a bit of comical time out in the woods trying to track this boy to no avail. I get to play the bad guy. Of course, John gets to play the good guy.
Right. Yeah.
I guess if I get a little older, I'll start to get to play the good guy. But for right now, I'm playing the Barney Fife on steroids.
Sure. Well, you've both mentioned that there is this aspect of kind of the boyhood adventure that starts in your backyard and gets bigger and bigger. And I've noticed that that's kind of a theme in some of your other movies as well, like Secondhand Lions and Dancer Texas. And, since that is kind of a prevalent theme that you address, also, obviously with the child that, maybe is a little bit of a misfit from society and the adults that come in and impact his life and the person he's going to be. Like, why are those such important themes to you?
I don't know. It's funny. I hadn't really thought about it until you pointed out. But growing up and who's your role model and trying to figure out who the person you're going to be when you grow up. Those are really powerful themes to me. I know when I was growing up, I didn't know. I learned a lot of, I think, from the movies. You know what I mean? Like how men act. And that sort of stuff. I got a lot of those sorts of movies. I think taught me a lot as a boy. And so I guess I wanted to give back on some of that. I mean, certainly Secondhand Lions was something like, what is it? I was trying to explore, what is it that men teach boys? This is a boy that doesn't have a man in his life at all. And what is it that two old crusty old guys, could teach this kid? And so this, in a way, is there's almost the flip side of this. He's been with a man for a lot, and he's learned a lot of manly kind of things, but he's never been around other boys. And so he makes these kind of friendships that last your whole life with a couple other boys. There's sort of three main boys that, including him, that he sort of bonds with, and they become the kind of friendships you really have at that age. So I think that. So that's very interesting things to me. So.
And you mentioned Jimmy Bennett, who plays the main role, and you said that you're the bad guy. I guess maybe that's too harsh. Antagonist, maybe.
Yeah, right.
But can you tell me a little bit about your interaction with him?
Well, listen, I found Jimmy to be a really fine young actor, willing to work hard. He certainly understood that he was being employed to do a good day's work. I felt like I was in a position. Listen, Tim was certainly the director and certainly capable of handling or directing Jimmy, but I was always there. I worked with Jimmy a lot in the movie, and I was always encouraging him, like, hey buddy, we got to be just as good at 4 o'clock in the afternoon than we were at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Anybody can, children, men, anybody can be really good actors at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
But after you've been around all day and you're tired, and for the case of children, which I've had this experience having been a child actor, you've got to deal with school and your parents and the welfare workers, and then just physically getting tired. Those are all wonderful excuses. However, it's time to buck up, kid, and let's kick some butt at the end of the day. I mean, Jimmy and I actually ended up having a little game that we played between ourselves. It wasn't really a game, but it was sort of like, when 3 or 4 o'clock rolled around, I reminded him that it was time to roll up our sleeves and really finish strong. It's like the fourth quarter of a football game. You can play great through the first 3 quarters, but if you dog it in the fourth quarter, you're probably going to get, whooped.
Absolutely. Game is won in the fourth quarter. Well, we are really excited about the movie. I love the story. So I'm excited to see it, and it was great talking to you guys. Thank you so much for coming by and spending some time with us.
Great to meet you. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having us.